Hey everybody, Andy here. Today I'm going to talk about episode 6 of the new X-Files miniseries, My Struggle 2. Now this is either the season finale or the series finale, but right now I'm pretty sure it's the series finale. But you know, we've had one of those before and a movie after that, so we'll see what happens. But right now it's the series finale. This episode, Mulder and Scully are going to get, wrap things up potentially. You never know with X-Files. We might get more questions and answers, but hopefully more things get tied in from the first episode with the alien abduction and all the conspiracy theories and all that sort of stuff. So let's jump in and find out what happens next. So right from the start, we know that this is called My Struggle 2. In the first episode of season 10, I guess you'd call it, was called My Struggle. So now we know that this is probably going to wrap things up, or definitely going to be a continuation of the first episode. Alright, so the episode begins with an intro as usual. This one's narrated by Dana, and it's just got a bunch of pictures, and she's pretty much just explaining or talking about government conspiracies with her disease, her miraculous recovery from the old series, all the alien abductions and all that sort of stuff, and how she was called in to debunk the X-Files, and how she came to believe what Mulder believes in. And then at the end that and then at the end of her narration, she says that she's come across DNA that she can only describe as alien, which she pretty much found in My Struggle 1, the first episode of the X-Files miniseries. The episode starts with Scully going into Mulder's office. He is not there, but his laptop is open, and Mulder was watching one of O'Malley's videos. In the video, Scully starts to watch, and he talks about how there's alien DNA inside of everybody in the world. She then gets a phone call on Mulder's desk phone, and it's O'Malley. Says that he needs to meet her. So she meets him at Mulder's residence. And when she gets there, Mulder's house is all messed up. Like somebody was looking for something, or he was abducted. We don't know at this point. Then O'Malley and Scully again talk about Sveta and alien DNA being in everybody. So then Scully goes back to the FBI, talks to Skinner and Agent Einstein, and she says that she met with O'Malley and what he has stated, and how this has probably gotten Mulder all excited and maybe into trouble. That's why they can't find him right now. Now it cuts to a scene where it shows Einstein and Scully walking down a staircase. A man walks up to them, who's all sweaty and looks very sick. Says he needs help. His left arm has a big old, nasty scar. Not a scar, like a pus wound in it. And they find a nurse to take him and figure out what's going on. So obviously he's been affected with something. Then it cuts to Mulder driving in a car. He looks like he's been beat up. He's got blood and he's all bruised in his face. He gets a phone call. He looks at his caller ID and it's Skinner. He puts the phone down and continues to drive. He obviously doesn't want to be found or to talk to anybody at this time. We come back from the commercial, and Scully is taking Agent Einstein's blood. She then explains to her how she had her genome sequenced and found that there was, by definition, alien DNA. So Scully is not saying that it's, spaceship aliens that has DNA inside of her, that it's just unknown DNA inside of her. That's her definition of alien. She then goes on explaining to Einstein why or how this might have happened. She thinks that maybe that everyone in America back in the 70s, 60s, I don't know when it started, received a smallpox vaccination, or through other vaccinations that you receive when you're babies. Maybe that this anomaly was introduced into our genome. Scully now speculates that the man with the disease on his shoulder, that they found out he's military, so she thinks that he's infected with anthrax, because military personnel are given anthrax to protect against biological warfare in Afghanistan and Iraq, which I didn't know. And I don't know if it's true. I'm assuming it is. So she believes that everyone's going to be getting sick. Odd, rare diseases that you don't see very often anymore, especially in America, like measles and mumps. And she thinks that this is just going to start spreading throughout everything. This alien genome is, they're not really sure yet, but it seems like it's something that is blocking all these vaccines, or perhaps it's something that's letting all these old diseases and viruses become prevalent again. After Scully's big speech about how all these diseases are going to come back and start taking over the world and infecting everybody, measles, mumps, rubella, flu, all these diseases are going to make everyone sick. It cuts to Mulder again in his car. He's parked on the side of the road. He's all beat up still. He looks very tired, and it shows an ambulance drive by, so you know that this stuff is starting to outbreak. And then it shows his phone rings. Scully's on the other line, and again he doesn't answer. He looks at it and he puts it down, and then he starts to drive off again. So he doesn't want to talk to people for some reason about something, and who knows why. Alright, so when Mulder pulls out and starts driving again, the camera pans over and shows "Welcome to South Carolina." And it says Greensburg, I think, or Greensfield, something like that, 120 miles. I'm sorry, I don't live in South Carolina or anywhere near there. And I think Spartansburg is like 80 miles away. So you know he's in South Carolina. And I don't know if those two towns are significant or not. But we know that he's in South Carolina. It then shows Agent Miller go into Mulder's office and sit down at his desk and look at his computer. And I remember noticing at the very beginning of the episode when Scully was on the computer that showed Phone Finder was on the desktop. So he notices it and clicks on it and finds that Mulder is right by Spartansburg, South Carolina. He then runs out of the office, and you're assuming that he's going to make his way down to Spartansburg to find Mulder. Then it cuts to Einstein and Scully again, who are talking about how this is just the beginning, and Einstein is trying to think rationally and say, if this is true, if this is just the beginning and everything's going to outbreak, that something from the genome would have to be taken away, not added to it. And Scully stops and thinks about this and is then interrupted by a phone call. She answers and says, and the person on the other line says, "I know what's happening and I can explain it." So it turns out the person that called Scully was Monica Reyes, who was kind of David Duchovny's replacement, I guess, when he decided to take a break from the X-Files. She was in seasons 9, 8, 7, maybe even 6. And so it pretty much goes into her backstory. Apparently she disappeared after season 9 of the X-Files and kind of disappeared for like 10 years. Then she goes into her backstory and starts talking about why she left. It shows her walking into a hospital, and a man comes up and talks to her and says, "Don't be alarmed by this man's appearance, but you need to see him." Alright, so it's going to be spoilers from here on out. And it is a little early in the episode. We're about a half hour in, so it is kind of early. But this is the series finale, so there's going to be a lot crammed into the end of this episode. And I don't want to spoil any of it for anybody. And there is a big part coming up next. So, spoilers from here on out. It shows Monica walk into the hospital room, and a man is extremely badly burned all over his body, especially his face. He's all wrapped up in bandages. He has like a plastic mask. And he starts to talk, and you know right away that it's the cigarette smoking man. So the cigarette smoking man proposes an offer to Monica, one that she says she can't refuse. It's either that she is killed, and doesn't say how she'll be killed, by the way, or the cigarette smoking man will tell her what's going on, and she has to serve him pretty much for the rest of her life. It then shows her, giving him cigarettes and helping him smoke, and he's recovered, and he talks about how he wants to be like the ruler, like a god, sort of thing, kind of like that. It then cuts back, and Scully calls her a coward, and she says, no, Monica says, no, you don't understand. You are protected, and so am I. Our DNA, our genome, has been tampered with. Or maybe it's backwards. Maybe it hasn't been tampered with. I'm sorry, I might have that wrong. Either way, Monica and Scully are the chosen elite. So there's a handful of people that have been chosen to not be infected by these diseases that are going to run rampant across the world. Monica then states that this has all been in effect since 2012. Scully then says, what about Mulder? Monica says that the cigarette smoking man sent a person to offer Mulder a deal. So this is why his apartment is all messed up, or his house. It then cuts to like a past scene where it shows a man sneak into Mulder's house. Mulder knows he's coming and starts attacking him, and they have this, pretty long fight scene for David Duchovny, who's like 60. I think he's probably 50 something. He's been taking jiu-jitsu or like taekwondo or something, because he's doing all this crazy fight stuff with this assassin guy, and it's pretty impressive. It's kind of cool, but it's pretty unrealistic that Mulder can take out this assassin guy with all these flips and kicks and stuff. And anyways, he says, he gets the guy down, has a gun pointed at him, and says, who sent you? Then it cuts to Mulder holding a gun to the cigarette smoking man's head, saying, I hear you sent for me. The cigarette smoking man then explains that aliens long ago predicted our demise. They saw how we treated each other and treated the planet and knew that we wouldn't last very long. The cigarette smoking man then said he decided to hasten this process by messing with the genomes and having all these diseases kill everybody off. He calls it an extinction, I think, but it's not really an extinction. It's more of a cleansing. He wants just a handful of people to live on and get rid of everybody else. And right now, all you know is Monica and Scully, and we're assuming himself, the cigarette smoking man, are part of the people that are going to live. He then offers Mulder the same thing that he offered Monica. I can give you the cure to all these diseases, because you can tell right now Mulder's very sick, or you can die with everybody else. Okay, so it shows Dana come back to the hospital after she's done talking to Monica. She finds Agent Einstein and explains what's going on. Everyone that is sick does not have alien DNA or the alien genome. Only Monica and Dana have the tampered DNA, or the tampered with genome, and that's what's protecting them from all these diseases and sickness. She then takes a swab of her mouth and gives it to Einstein to get it tested. And once they find out what is going on with Dana's DNA or Dana's blood or whatever, they are going to replicate it and try to give it to everybody else. So then it goes back to Mulder. It shows him laying on the ground very sick. The cigarette smoking man again gives him the offer, and Mulder says he doesn't want anything from him. You can tell he's very sick. Mulder then says, I wish Scully could see you now and see what a monster you've become. The cigarette smoking man says, I'm all that she'll have. So I'm not really sure what to take from this, because you can't believe anything that man says. He lies about everything, or maybe he's telling the truth and only Scully has the DNA, or him and Scully, and Monica's been lied to, or what. You don't know what's going on. Anyways, that's where I read. We then get Scully and Einstein looking at her sequence, her genome, and it is normal again. It's not what she's found in My Struggle 1, the first episode of the miniseries. They're then interrupted by the nurse. Nurse comes in and says, Dr. Scully, we need your help. All the doctors are getting sick, and you can tell that she's very sick too. We then have Agent Miller find Mulder at the cigarette smoking man's house or whatever. He takes Mulder and then they leave. The cigarette smoking man says, you have no idea how well we planned. You won't get far. Then it shows Scully and Einstein figured out that the sequence they took was too small. They need to take a bigger sample or something. So they then take another sample from Scully, this time from her blood. Scully found the sequence, she found what she was looking for, and then she starts to make the cure or the vaccine using the alien DNA. She starts by putting it into Agent Einstein to see if it works. She then gets a call from Agent Miller, who's driving north with Mulder, and they're both pretty sick. Miller does mention that there's a shortage of gas, and they might run out of gas before they can get to where she's at. We then get O'Malley on the TV saying that he's heard from the doctor that there may be a vaccine or a cure in the works, and that it's a miracle. So then you know that Scully's vaccine worked. Then shows Scully driving down the street. She's talking on the phone with Miller, trying to find them. And there's traffic all over, and there's cars stopped everywhere. And she eventually finds Miller and Mulder and gets Mulder hooked up with the vaccine. Then you see a bright light in the sky, and you look up and there's a UFO, and the light hovers. The beam of light hovers over Dana, and it stops. It cuts. That's the end of the episode. So, I really don't know what I expected, but I guess this isn't a bad ending. It's really better than it ending right with Mulder and Scully, Mulder getting the vaccine and everything's happy, blah, 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 and that's it, and cut there. This at least is better than that, but it really also is. It's typical X-Files ending. I really guess this is what I should have expected. A cliffhanger, a mystery of what's going on, but I'm guessing it ended that way because in episode 1 of the miniseries, this is how it ended with Sveta being abducted. So guessing that's what is happening with Dana. So overall, this was a fairly good episode. Mulder was not in it very much, and it seems to me that kind of happens with the X-Files. Mulder kind of disappears, especially in the later series, especially in season 7, 8, 9. And in this one, Mulder is barely in the last episode. He really was just sick, and he was talking to the cigarette smoking man just a little bit. He had that fight scene, but Mulder wasn't really in it. This was a Dana Scully episode, which wasn't a bad thing. It's just not what you expect from the last episode of the X-Files. Overall, though, I liked this episode. It was good. It's definitely better than the last episode with the terrorist thing where things seem to be lost in translation. I don't know what Chris Carter was thinking with that one. I think he might have meant something and it kind of came off as something different. Anyways, that was that episode. And the were monster one was really good at the miniseries. Overall, there was a good miniseries, and this episode was not a bad ending to it. Anyways, like I said, I liked it. I will have a recap of the whole miniseries, all 6 episodes, coming out probably sometime later this week, maybe early next week. And I'll kind of talk about each episode and what I liked and didn't like about the series. Anyways, guys, thanks for watching. Again, my name is Andy, and I will check you later.